Tell me, my friend, you've always viewed the fall of the House of Usher as a mere trifle of gothic horror, haven't you? But if you were to peer into the labyrinthine mind of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, you would find something far more logical, far more ruthlessly psychoanalytical buried within. Another splash of whiskey, if you please. Precisely so. Let us begin our experiment by observing the three souls gathered within that cursed house. First, the narrator, the visitor. He is, by all accounts, a man of profound reason and common sense. Yet, watch him closely, if you will. As he approaches the house, his reason begins to erode, grain by grain. He attempts to remain an objective observer, but in the end, he is utterly consumed by the illusion of the house's reflection in the tarn. He is us, my friend. He is the reader, the man of intellect who tries to peek into the abyss of literature, only to find himself dragged into the very madness he sought to study. Then there is Roderick Usher. Fragile, terribly fragile. That man sharpened his senses to such a perilous degree that the mere weight of existence became an intolerable burden. Music, painting, poetry, the stimuli they provided were more than his frayed nerves could endure. To him, the real world was far too cluttered, too sordid, too unbearable. And so he retreated into the enclosed environment of the house, attempting to complete his world solely within the confines of his own mind. It was not the solitude of an artist. It was a desperate flight, a desertion from reality itself. And finally, Madeline. The key to this entire tragedy lies with her. Roderick is a hypersensitive consciousness, while Madeline is the silent, physical reality. She hardly speaks a word until the bitter end. While Roderick's words scramble to explain every nuance of his suffering, she offers only the chilling ultimatum of her own physical decay. Do you not see it? Roderick was not afraid of Madeline's death. He was terrified of the physical body, his own vessel, drifting away from his grasp, a nightmare of his consciousness becoming untethered from his flesh. Her death meant the annihilation of his own existence. That is why the vault was necessary. To him, Madeline's corpse was not a past to be buried, but an indispensable organ that had to be kept close, a fragment of his own self he refused to let go. Yet those siblings, they were eerily alike, like a reflection staring back from a dark mirror. Why were they compelled to forge such an impenetrable, terrifying bond, excluding all others? In it, I sense not just a rupture from society or kin, but a far more primal, arrogant desire to lock the world out and exist only as a closed circuit of two.
Ah, I see that look in your eye. You are not satisfied with mere character studies, are you? Very well. Let us solve the cruelest puzzle of all, the end of the tale. As I mentioned, to Roderick, Madeline was not merely a sibling. She was his own flesh, his very corporeal reality. But, with cruel irony, the body is a traitor. It decays, regardless of the consciousness that inhabits it. When Madeline succumbed to that mysterious wasting disease, Roderick did not perceive it as a mere illness. He felt his spirit losing control over his body, a nightmare of his own existence being torn asunder by forces beyond his reach. That is why he entombed her in that vault. It was no funeral. It was a desperate act of denial, a refusal to accept the progression of death. He sought to preserve a part of himself, to shield the reality of death from his own shattered mind. But that night, the denial collapsed. A storm rages outside, a massive external force of nature
infiltrating the interior of the isolated House of Usher. Roderick cowers, reading aloud in a frantic attempt to reinforce the crumbling walls of his mental cage. But it is far too late. Now, consider the greatest mystery of all. Why did Madeline, dead and entombed, rise again to walk toward her brother? Her garments were stained with blood. The marks of a desperate struggle were etched upon her. Imagine, if you will, when Roderick placed her in the coffin, she was not yet entirely gone. No, she was alive, or at the very least, her will remained. In the depths of that absolute darkness, she possessed the singular, agonizing energy of a woman buried alive by the man she mirrored. She burst through those coffin lids, fueled by the sheer, violent rejection of her brother's madness. The moment she appeared before Roderick was no reunion. It was the final, most violent collision between consciousness, Roderick, and flesh, Madeline. When she collapsed upon him, both falling to the floor in their final embrace, the energy of that collision was enough to physically shatter the fragile vessel of the house. And that is why the house fell. The House of Usher existed only upon the precarious balance of their fractured spirits. The moment the two became one, the burden of consciousness that held the architecture together vanished. The laws of gravity took hold. The fissure that had been yawning since the beginning split the edifice in two, and the entire structure surrendered itself to the depths of the tarn. It is a perfect, sickening symmetry. The moment the house sank, there was no longer a human named Usher, nor a building to house him. There was only the stagnant, silent surface of the water. How ironic. Roderick rejected the real world, striving to build a perfect, enclosed universe of their own. But Poe teaches us a brutal truth. The moment a human severs their connection to the world and to others, they do not retreat into some sanctuary of the mind. They collapse under the weight of their own gravity. Well, my friend, having heard this, what say you? Does it strike you with terror? Or perhaps just a hint of envy? To become perfectly unified with another, to shut out the world entirely, and in the end, to let all of history sink to the bottom of the lake alongside oneself. Not a lifestyle I would recommend for the healthy-minded, I assure you. But the whiskey bottle is empty. I believe we have toyed with this corpse in our literary dissecting room long enough. It is late. Mind your step on your way home. Buildings in this city are deceptive things. One never knows when, or from where, a fissure might begin to spread.